listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation Podcast. As always, a proud member of the CLNS group of podcasts. Make sure you download and subscribe to all of those great shows to get great Patriots content all week long. But tonight, as we said, it's your guy, Pat Lane, here with my man, Matt St. Jean. And Matt, it's always a good time to be a Boston sports fan, right? But with Jason Tatum back with the Celtics are an absolute force. And if Jaylen Brown plays anywhere near the level that he played tonight against the Suns, the Celtics are going to be not just a tough out, they should be the favorite to win it all.
At least the favorite to come out of the East. That the two teams out West are good, but I think you also have to feel good. The Celtics just played both in close games on the road last week with essentially no Jaylen Brown for most of one of those games and no Tatum for the other. And I think no Derek White in that one as well. Yeah. It's crazy that less than a year ago, it was real questions about kind of when the Celtics title window might reopen, because you don't think it's going to reopen until Tatum comes back. And then it's what Tatum are we even getting?
Right.
And the team's going to be, stripped for pieces after the season. And to basically just have that window never actually close here is insane. And meanwhile, Bruins for the loss tonight, but still very much in the thick of it in what is a rebuilding year where you have Toronto's pick, which is going to should give you a top pick here, regardless of what you do during the season. It's funny. We were a year ago, things felt kind of down in Boston sports. Yeah. Obviously, Celtics very good, but other than that, we don't know what the Patriots are. They're coming off back-to-back awful years. Bruins kind of, falling apart at that point, and we hadn't gotten there yet. But the Red Sox, in a couple of months last year, would be trading away Devers in that whole thing. And the way things look right now, with the way the Sox players been playing in the WBC and the way the Celtics are playing, the Pats coming off a Super Bowl appearance. It's City of Champions, baby.
Pretty nice. Pretty nice.
Pretty nice.
Yep. And not just that. So speaking of Boston sports and I guess Massachusetts sports, I think arguably the best high school athlete in Massachusetts right now is Brody Bamilla from Bishop Fee. This kid, and as a basketball, as I've started to coach basketball in Massachusetts, I started to try to watch some more basketball games. And this kid, man, he is an absolute monster. He averaged for the tournament, 40 points and 20 rebounds for the state tournament, won the state title, and basketball isn't even his sport. It's just crazy. It's just so stupid. He is he's committed to go to Texas already. He's a left-handed pitcher who throws 99 miles an hour. So he's a monster. 6'8", 6'9". He's just it's pretty awesome. So, and he seems like a great guy. He seems like a great kid. From everything I heard, I have some friends over at Fian, and they all rave about him and say how nice of a kid he is. So, that's what we like to see. That's what we like to see is something like that. And they were a 14 seed. They were ranked 14th going into the tournament. Ended up winning out of 32. So
that's unbelievable.
Pretty improbable run by them. And he's awesome. So good for him.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool story all around right there.
Yeah. And it's one of those things. It's just one of those funny things where it's like, okay, he was unbelievable in the tournament. And you're like, that's really cool. And then you're like, oh yeah, he's not even going to college to play basketball. And you're like, wait, what? What do you mean? It's like, yeah, he's like an unbelievable pitcher. And you're like, oh, okay.
This is his side thing.
Yeah. Right. He literally just does it for fun. And it's like, okay, that's cool. So yeah, it's pretty wild. So it was a good tournament. It was a very good and competitive tournament all around, both boys' side and the girls' side as well. Lots of really good, tight, close games. So, lots of fun, and congrats to those teams. I believe it was, I think it was Central Catholic that won on the girls' side. I believe from Central Catholic, I believe, is the Springfield area. So, but anyways, so that's that. So, without further ado, you want to get into? Is there anything else you want to talk about? Patriots related or NFL related or anything like that?
There's one thing I wanted to open with, I think, which we can get into. We're going to do a live mock in the second half of the show, so I'll have to figure in more there, I think. But we're starting to get info on really the only visits that matter in the draft cycle, and those are the top 30 visits.
Yep.
So Ethan Hurwitz put this together on Twitter, reported top 30 meetings for the Patriots so far this offseason. We have 4 of them. Memphis offensive tackle Travis Burke, who is someone the consensus boards have just outside the top 300 right now, but he is a big boy. He's 6'9", like he's massive. So there's not many guys like. You've got 2 edge rushers, Romello Height from Texas Tech and R. Mason Thomas from Oklahoma. 2 guys who, they could fall anywhere from end of the first round to end of the second, or even top of the third round. Yeah, with guys like that, it's very much eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe the most interesting name on here, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. We've talked about the Toledo safety. This thing to Nick Emenworry that exists in this draft class. And I think I wanted to talk about him for a second, just because Patriots signed Kevin Byard last week. Older safety, 1-year deal as a replacement for Jalen Hawkins. So we already know safety is a need for 2027. The fact that safety is a need for 2027, and they are meeting with a safety who is projected to go mid to end of the first round, I think you could connect some dots there if you wanted to.
I agree. And I, in my mock draft 2.0, I have the Patriots taking McNeil-Warren in the first round. And I love the idea of getting the type of guy. And listen, he's not Emenworry. He's not, right? I mean, no one is, right? But, it's one of those things. And Nikhil mentions, Thieneman, he's not going to be there at 31. He's not. He's he's going to go in the teens probably, if I had to guess.
Between McNeil-Warren and Thieneman, at least one is gone by the time the Patriots pick.
Right.
There's a chance both are off the board by the time the Patriots pick.
And it certainly is. Yeah, it certainly is. So I like what he brings to the table as kind of that physical kind of in-between guy. I like him a lot. I think it makes a lot of sense to meet with a guy like that. Toledo just had, you kind of wonder, what do you get? Quinyon Mitchell came out of Toledo and has been phenomenal for the Eagles. So you just feel like if that's the case, that they can produce a guy who can actually play in the league. Now, that doesn't mean really anything, but, when you have a small school, it is nice to see another guy excelling, from that same school. So,
yeah. Well, I think schematically, too, if the Patriots were to take him, you would expect him to figure in right away. And the way someone like McNeil-Warren fits in right away is if you play a lot of dime defense, which the Patriots, I think, were one of the leaders in nickel defense last year. They were... If the Patriots thought you might throw the ball, they wanted to have 3 corners and 2 safeties on the field. That was what they did a lot of the time last season. And I think that was one of the reasons the run defense was a little bit weak at points. And kind of the thing to do on defense right now, the trendy thing and the most effective thing right now that offenses have not found the way to counteract repeatedly, is to be able to put a lot of defensive backs on the field who can also stop the run, so that you can have a bunch of these guys out there, and if you can still stop the run out of it, good luck. That's kind of the approach here, which is what Seattle did. And I don't know if the Patriots would be talented enough to get to that point with McNeil-Warren, but if he lived up to the hype and Byard works out like you think he's going to, if that were to be the pick, Patriots would probably have the best secondary in football, at least top 3.
I think they're approaching it right now. So if you throw a rookie in there that can play well, forget about it. They're definitely up there, and they might be there's an argument for them being in the top 3 right now. I think they're definitely in the top 5. and maybe if you want to say 7 instead of 5, I'm okay with that. But like they're up pretty high right now when you talk about Christian Gonzalez, and then you bring in Byard, and the way that the kid played, that Woodson played in the playoffs, you feel really good about what he can do. So and Carlton Davis played very well in the playoffs too. So, and then of course you have Marcus Jones,
If Carlton Davis is the worst of the 6 defensive backs you have on the field, you are in very good shape.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good shape. And you'd also, most of these guys would be in their second year playing together as well, which I think would help, like as a unit with the same coach. His core was there basically installing everything last year, and chemistry is so important on the back end when you're playing any kind of zone defense or match defense. And I think you would have potential for something special, which I think then the other half of this, Jack Gibbons signs in Arizona. So the Patriots just let him walk. And if you were planning on playing more dime or nickel defense next year, someone like Jack Gibbons is a lot less important to you. He's just not ever going to be on the field that much because your linebacker would be someone like McNeil Warren or Byard or Greg Woodson walk down into the box.
Yeah, it's a good point. And Nikhil said this a few times here, but the Vidarian Lowe contract, right? And I think when you talk about Gibbons, it kind of brings up the point that the Patriots haven't retained any of their free agents. 0 free agents retained, which I thought was kind of interesting. It was just surprising to me that they didn't re-sign anyone. That's Caleb Von Chasen, Kyrus Tonga, Jalen Hawkins, Vidarian Lowe, Austin Hooper, Alex Austin, and now Jack Gibbons. All those guys leave, and they bring in guys. They brought in a linebacker who, who knows what he can do. They brought in an edge rusher who we'll see what happens. They brought in a tight end who, okay, fine.
People seem to like,
yeah. I mean, he had a 37 run blocking grade last year, so not ideal. But it's who knows?
And Julian Hill, to me, is so interesting because PFF says he's not a good run blocker, but people in the industry who watch a lot of tape say he can be a good run blocker.
Right.
And I tend to trust the people I trust over PFF, but also a number like that is so ugly that it's hard to ignore.
Right. So, then it's like, okay, and Nikhil was mentioning too, Braden Swinson, like, okay, are you hoping Braden Swinson takes a leap forward? Are you hoping that that Ponder continues to get better and, and can be a starter for you, or at least a solid rotational player for you, right? And so, I guess that's kind of the way you're thinking of it. I didn't love some of those moves. I didn't get the Vidarian Lowe one. I understood, right? Because the Niners gave him a decent amount of money. The Chasen thing made no sense to me. I didn't get that. And the Gibbons one, you kind of mentioned it on Twitter too. Like the Gibbons one didn't make sense for me in that spot either. And Goalie's mentioned Mike Brown from safety and KJ Britt at linebacker, but both those guys feel like special teams guys to me. I might be wrong about that, but they both feel like special teams guys to me.
Well, Britt is someone who, in theory, can fill that Gibbons role. And I think, this can go one of two ways. If we're looking at the overarching narrative here, and what the narrative is won't be written until you get the results of the story. But you're looking at one of two outcomes here, probably. One where these moves do work out for them, and guys they drafted last year step up, and free agent signings they made this year step up. And we're going to be talking a lot about how the Patriots, thought that the guys that they brought in last year succeeded largely because coaches put them in good positions to succeed and developed them well and worked with them. And they trusted that could happen again, and it happened again because they have such a good coaching staff. And if it doesn't work out, you're going to hear a lot about how the organization got overconfident in their ability to evaluate guys and let a whole bunch of guys who were at least somewhat quality role players for them last year walk out the door because they thought they could replace them easily when they couldn't. And, there's no way of telling which one of those narratives is more accurate right now until you see the way it plays out on the field in 6 months.
Yeah.
So we won't know for a while here.
Well, and that's really the part of it, right? And Nikhil's asking about, right, can you rank 2024, 2025, 2026? I mean, like 2024 is not even, they didn't do anything in 2024.
2024 has to be a 0. 2025 has to be 1. And
Right.
2026 by default is in the middle. And, in theory, 26 can go either way, but we don't know
Yeah.
yet. You
Well, we don't
can't.
know.
And we've put our grades on Pat's Pulpit. I'm sure you guys, if you guys haven't seen that, go check it out. But you'll see our
Yeah.
free agent grades on there. But those are preliminary. That is, how much money is this guy owed, and how much of an impact do we expect him to make? And it's
Right.
just kind of rudimentary there. And it's like that can change a lot between now and September, between September and November, between November and January.
Yeah.
A lot of moving pieces there. So what a free agent class looks like in March to me is in a lot of ways irrelevant to what it looks like. And not totally irrelevant, but
Well, but that's why, we always talked about the Jets would win the offseason every year. And it's like, yeah, who cares? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things. By the way, somebody was saying, I was talking about something popped up about the Trey Lance trade. When Trey Lance either signed or got traded or whatever, he's now backing up someone else, I think. Is he back in LA? I forget. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where he is. But someone, had the thing about, they make the trade for him, and the Dolphins ended up with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, but they still suck. And somebody commented on it that the Jets haven't made the playoffs in 15 years, and they have a playoff win more recent than the Miami Dolphins. And it's like, when the Jets have insult stats over you,
it's pretty rough.
That's when you're a real poverty franchise. It's just unbelievable that the Dolphins are just that bad. It's unbelievable.
Well, I think what's brutal too is they made the playoffs 2 years in a row, and you look at the losses. The first one is one where Tua is out, and you still almost go on the road and beat Buffalo.
Yeah.
That I think is one of the strangest games in recent NFL history.
Yes,
that one. But Skylar Thompson doing that is wild, and that was I think less so Skylar Thompson and more so the Bills kind of imploding and giving that away a little bit.
100%. Yeah, if they were any even remotely good quarterback, they would have won that game.
Yeah, and then the other game they lost was at Kansas City, and I think the lesson here is that they lost 2 road playoff games in very cold environments to 2 of the best quarterbacks in football.
Yeah,
and I think you go back to roster building, quarterback's the most important position here. That's 100%. Why the 49ers were willing to give up all those assets for someone who they thought could be in that upper echelon of quarterbacks, because you can see just because you have 3 guys who are high impact players for the Dolphins, that gets you to the playoffs, that gets you in the dance. Then you need a quarterback who can actually take advantage of that most of the time. You either need, and obviously, you look at the Seahawks this year. I don't think Sam Darnold and 2022 Tua Tagovailoa are meaningfully that different. But I think part of the difference there is the Seahawks team is absolutely stacked and got to play only 3 playoff games, got to play at home. That was something that Miami team did not get to do and did not have a roster that good.
Very true.
And then it's also a testament of how good organization matters. Like the 49ers were able to overcome that with some luck, and also because they have a well-run organization. And the Dolphins gave a lot of money to a quarterback who is injury prone and was very much a product of the system.
Right.
But that's the Dolphins are kind of where where the Rams were a couple of years ago with that golf contract, but the quarterback is a tier or 2 worse, and the coach is a tier or 2 worse, and the roster is a tier or 2 worse. So instead of being able to trade the quarterback, go get a better quarterback and invest in everything, it just all falls apart.
Well, I think one of the interesting things, you look at San Fran, right? Mm-hmm. San Fran makes that trade up from 12 to 3 to draft Lance. The 12th pick was Micah Parsons, right? The next year, they have the 29th pick, which, of course, the Patriots ended up taking Cole Strange, which was a terrible pick, obviously. But they had a shot at George Pickens. They had a shot at Alec Pierce. They had a shot at, a bunch of different good players that they didn't take. You think about, like, if they had done that, the fact that they made that trade and traded all those assets and still were able to be successful in the playoffs and make it to a Super Bowl is insane. And so you think about, like, if you didn't make that trade or whatever, if that trade had worked out instead of being an abject disaster, how incredibly different they would be. So, but it is a testament to a well-run organization. You have to put pieces around. You have to have a good coaching staff. You have to have, an owner that cares about things, that, fosters that kind of environment. And, and that's why San Fran's pretty good every year. They may not be great, but they're pretty good every year.
Yep.
So,
and then meanwhile, Miami, which is at the top of those NFLPA report cards every year.
Yep.
They don't win. And I don't think they're a bad organization, but they aren't a good one.
Right.
They're just they're always coming up just a little bit short. And they've also gotten horribly snake bit, which, to be fair, 49ers have also got snake bit. They made a Super Bowl and they were probably one piece away from winning that. Like, I will say that you look at the 49ers, if they don't make that trade and they're able to use those draft picks instead, that they might end up winning a Super Bowl in there.
Yeah.
And then you have every quarterback on their roster getting injured all at the same time in the NFC Championship game. And
well, the craziest part of that Super, I mean, Dre Greenlaw snaps his Achilles as he's running onto the field. And it's just like, how is that even possible? Like, it's just unbelievable. So
I would be sick to my stomach as a 49ers fan with how unlucky they have gotten in the last like 20 years.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So
yeah,
but not our problem. So
nope.
All right, let's get into
your mock.
Yeah, let's get into this mock. So we'll just kind of run through it. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, but we'll run through it. Blake Miller was my number one pick here at 31. Miller is a guy who is big. He's a big dude. And I think that's, he's a right tackle. I think the Patriots may not have a need this year at right tackle, but they do have a need at right tackle. Morgan Moses is probably done after this year. You're probably going to move on from him, but this is something they did with Nate Solder, right? Back in 2011, where they drafted Nate Solder. They knew that Matt Light was towards the end of his career, but the idea was, let's sit Nate Solder for the year and just see what happens. Their right tackle ends up going down. He ends up starting the Super Bowl. So it's one of those things where, like, we didn't know if he'd be ready, and then all of a sudden he had to be ready. Kid had a 9.97 RAS. Like, he's a big guy. He's big and he's long, and and I like the idea of him being in there. Now, is he a perfect prospect? No, but I do think that he is a starting right tackle for you, and he's available this year if you need him, and then he just takes over next year and gets a year to learn from Morgan Moses.
Yeah, and I think that's ideal. Like, I would really like the Blake Miller pick. Like you said, someone you can develop into that role. And, I really like Morgan Moses as a Band-Aid at tackle. The idea that he is going to give you as many snaps next year as he did this past season. He's been somewhat injury prone in his career, and he's getting older. And, you never know when things are going to break down there. So getting 1 year ahead of it is what good teams do. And you can win games in the trenches. More often than not, you can lose games in the trenches. And investing in that stuff early and a year ahead of time is how you keep yourself from losing games because of your offensive line play.
Exactly. So round 2, I ended up trading down just 10 spots, but I ended up trading down 10 spots, picking up a pick 136 towards the end of the 4th round. And drafting Romello Height, who is a guy that we mentioned him already. He is coming in for a top 30 visit with the Patriots. He is an edge rusher, right? Transferred over from Georgia Tech. He had 62 pressures and 10 sacks last year. He's a guy that can get after the passer. He's not the best against the run. That's not who he is. but I like the idea of let's just draft a guy and just say, go get the pass rusher. Like, go get the passer and just that's all you got to do. And we'll see if we can develop him into something else, but, go get the passer, and that's all we're worried about right now.
Height he is small. He's undersized as an edge rusher, 6'3", 239 at the combine.
Yeah.
We're going to do this again. 12th percentile arm length for an edge rusher. Small hands, but he's fast. He accelerates well, and he can jump out of the building. And that kind of lower body explosiveness is what matters to me. If we're talking about especially a designated pass rusher type, a pin your ears back and get the quarterback type, that's what you need. That's the athleticism that I think is most important.
Yeah, I agree. And Traymon Jones is a guy who can stop, who's a good run defender, kind of a bigger guy, good run defender. You need a guy that can get after the passer as well. Harold Landry is a very good run defender as well. So you feel like, all right, we get a guy that can rush the passer. The second draft in a row for me that I've traded up from this third round spot, I just feel like the Patriots have a lot of these 6th-round picks. And, of course, now in this mock, I have 3 4th-round picks. But you got some extra picks that allow you to move around the board if you need. And I think, moving up to get a guy that you want makes a lot of sense. And so I had the Patriots moving up and taking Kyle Lewis here from Pittsburgh, the linebacker. It's funny because we just talked about Emmanuel McNeil Warren being a guy that can kind of play that Eamon Warry type of role. And Kyle Lewis isn't necessarily in that role, but he is kind of that guy that can fly around a little bit, right? He plays kind of that nickel linebacker guy who's good in coverage, moves well sideline to sideline. Like, that's the kind of player that you're looking for. And it's funny because someone in the comments today, I was reading the comments today, some of the comments was like, well, isn't that what Marte Mapu is supposed to be? And it was like, well, maybe, but Marte Mapu kind of stinks. So you got to just take another guy who can do something similar to that, but is actually good at it, and so you take a shot at it. And I kind of like Lewis here in that spot.
Yeah, I know he's someone a lot of Patriots fans have connected some dots there on him potentially being a fit. I am curious, just in general, between safety and linebacker, how they want to handle this over the next few years in the draft. Lewis is someone I could definitely see as a fit in that role, though.
Agreed. All right, 4th round, 125 has been going Oscar Delp from Georgia. He's 141 right now on Mock Draft Database. I'm honestly looking at it like I don't know if he's going to be around at 125. I just feel like the tight end position is a position where guys get taken a little bit earlier than we expect. So maybe he's not here at 125, but I think that, I think this is kind of the spot that makes sense. Delp's a good blocker. He's a pretty explosive receiver. I like what he does quite a bit. And so, he's got to put on a little bit of weight. He's got to probably, learn a little bit better run blocking technique, but I think that he kind of has the tools to grow into that guy. And so I wonder, was it Daniel Jeremiah? I think it was Daniel Jeremiah today that was saying like, this is the most draftable tight ends he's ever had when he's been going over and drafted. It's just like, just draft a few guys, even if it's not Delp, even if the Delp isn't the guy that, they fall in love with or whatever, doesn't matter. Like, take a few guys. He also played all this year with a hairline fracture in his foot. Didn't know. So that's
crazy.
So it's just like, oh, all right. Wanted to compete at the combine. They were like, yeah, no, you can't. You have a hairline fracture in your foot. And he was like, oh, okay.
That'll do it.
Yeah, whatever. Sure. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm in on that. I got to get through his tape. I haven't watched it yet. But on paper, I think there's a lot to like there.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I went corner at 131. How about Charles Demmings from Stephen F. Austin? 6'1", 193, 4'4", 140, 42-inch vertical, and an 11-foot even broad jump at 6'1", 193. So you're talking about explosive, fast press man corner. 4 picks last year. He needs a little bit of work in the run game, not super physical, which is not something that the Patriots would be happy about, I don't think. But, I think if you look at it and say, all right, well, for him, you get the guy and you feel like, all right, he's not at the top of the depth chart anyways. We get him out there to develop him a little bit and then see if we can develop that run stopping ability as well. So he's got the body to do it. It's just a question of the mentality to do it.
Yeah. I think taking a chance on athletes like that can be a pro in this point in the draft.
Yeah.
I kind of think back to Reek Woolen as someone who's just a freak athlete who is kind of in the same range, and it was just like, all right, can you coach him up into something? And
100%.
He's got a ring on his finger now.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was the big knock on Christian Gonzalez? He's not tough. He doesn't play in the run game hard enough. That hasn't been a problem for Gonzo since he's gotten here. So,
I especially look at the late season stretch, kind of after the Ravens game, where they really got him to, I think, buy into another level, and he upped his physicality.
100%.
It's like, all right, if you can get guys to buy in like that, I think this is one of the things about Mike Vrabel. He's going to go get tough guys to set the culture in the locker room. But the flip side of that is that once that culture is set, you can take chances on guys who might not be of the personality type that you would expect, because you think you can get something out of them that, you haven't gotten before because you've built that culture around them.
Exactly. All right, last pick in the 4th round here. How about another athletic freak? Patriots miss out on a tall, fast receiver from Cincinnati in free agency, so they get one in the draft instead. Jeff Caldwell. How about this? How about 6'5", 216, 4'3", 140, 42-inch vertical, 11'2" broad jump. 10.0 out of 10.0 on the RAS, second overall amongst wide receivers since 1987. Pretty ridiculous. Only had 1 year, just 1 year of P5. He transferred from some place called Lindenwood. No idea where that is. But freak athlete from Cincinnati. 22% of his catches in his career in college went for a touchdown. 22%.
I think that's good.
That's stupid. So, again, he's not really a contested catch guy. So you got to work on that a little bit. But again, it's the 4th round. You're telling me there's a guy that's a freak athlete like that can get downfield and is like decent running routes. I'm taking a chance on that guy, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, I like that. Lindenwood University, by the way, for those who are curious, just outside of St. Louis, gets 3.2 stars on Yelp.
There you go. How about that? And 618 Racing saying that was my school. There's no way you went to Lindenwood. If 618 Racing went to Lindenwood, that'd be unbelievable. If that's the case. If that's true, outrageous. We have to draft them. We got no choice. So that's pretty wild. So
the Lindenwood Lions.
There you go. Look at that. So he said he really did. It's unbelievable. Awesome. It's unbelievable.
We got a real lion in the chat over here.
What a day. What a night. That's unbelievable. If I'm telling you, we're gonna have to send you some. Jeff Caldwell's gonna have to reach out. If the Patriots draft him, we're gonna have to get him in contact with you somehow, because that's crazy.
And from London to Lindenwood, we've got everyone in our chat right now.
See, look at that. Oh man, that should be like put that on a t-shirt. So round 5, 171. I had the Patriots taking VJ Payne from Kansas State. He's a safety. Again, another guy, 6'3", 206, 4'4", 40. Vertical. The jumps aren't quite as good, but still a 9.61 RAS. He did a really nice job this year covering tight ends. Really nice job, and had some very tough matchups. K-State played against some really good tight ends this year. Had a tough matchup as well. And he's physical in the run game. So, I don't know if, again, he's going to have to develop a little bit more. But I like, I like what he brings to the table.
Yeah, I'm in.
So round 6, Nick Barrett out of South Carolina, defensive tackle out of South Carolina. He's a guy that I feel like got a lot of buzz before the season last year for South Carolina. South Carolina didn't have as good of a season, and Barrett played well, but not great. But he has this, like, he's not super explosive. He has this, like, slow power where he just mauls guys and overpowers them, like, just over the course of the play, and then is able to get off the block and make a tackle. So, he's a decently big guy, 312 pounds. And so he's, with Tonga gone, right? Yeah, he's more of a nose tackle than he is anything else. 6'3", they say 322, but I think he weighed in at 312 at the combine. So
they could use a little meat in the middle.
They sure could. Defense. They sure could. It's so funny because someone was like, "Oh, give me some guys, out of the top 75 that you like," and I named like a bunch of guys, and I'm like, the first 4 I named were all D tackles. And I'm like, okay, I got to branch out a little bit here. Like, okay, like let's go to some other positions.
Spots. Yeah.
But anyways, I got 2 picks left. 212. I have them taking Desmond Reed out of Pittsburgh. I don't know if you've seen anything about this kid or not, but
no.
174 pounds, 5'6". Darren Sparrow was Tariq Cohen. He had two punt return touchdowns on 18 career punt returns. He's explosive with the ball in his hands. And so he's not a guy that's going to run in the middle. He's not a super explosive guy, but he's a guy that when he gets the ball in space, look out.
Yeah.
Against Florida State this year, 20 touches, 200 yards, and 2 touchdowns against Florida State this year. So absolutely torched them. Beat guys on fade routes. So he kind of has a little bit of everything. And so I like it. It's a risk. He's 5'6", right? It's definitely a risk. But it's the 6th round. And it's like, again, I want to kind of get that explosive guy out of the backfield. Maybe you can develop Travion into more of a receiver. He didn't do great as a receiver. This kid runs like pretty crisp routes. So, I think that he'd be a solid receiving option out of the backfield.
I'm sold.
So, and then my last one here, Patriots legacy pick. Here. From the 1990s, Patriots all decade team from the 1990s. Todd Rucci was a guard for the Patriots. Started in Super Bowl 31. Protected Bledsoe. Played for, I believe, from 93 to 2000. And his son Nolan is a tackle from Penn State. 6'8", 305. Okay. Solid length. Developmental guy. He's definitely a developmental guy, but you can see the athleticism from him. And so, I don't know, again, it's a 7th round pick, right? You're taking a shot in the dark here, but 6'8", 305, you feel like he's got good size, he's got decent athleticism. Let's see if we can turn him into something, And I love the idea of taking a guy whose dad played for the team, especially with the last pick. It feels kind of cool.
That's fun.
Like, you finish the last pick and you're like, his dad, played for the team, coached, I believe still coaches in the area, I'm pretty sure, in Massachusetts. So it's pretty cool,
Yeah, I like that. I'm in.
So there you go. So there's that. So that's the mock for this week. I believe, Matt, you'll have one next week, right? You're going to have one next week?
Yes, which I'm away next week, so I don't think I'll be on the pod, but I'll have a mock.
So
we'll talk that through.
Yeah, we'll probably go through it. Matt's going to be traveling out of town. I'm going to have to try to replace him somehow. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try to replace him somehow.
You could never replace me, Pat.
It's true. It's a great point. So
I'll just we'll set up the mic and everything here, and we'll let Willow walk in. And,
yeah, right. We'll just bang her nose against the microphone.
That'll be the other 30 minutes for when you're not talking. And
exactly.
That'll be a great episode.
Yeah, see, that'd be perfect, So, oh goodness. All right, should we take an ad break and then we'll come back for our 7-round mock?
Yeah, let's do it. Do it here.
All right, the playoff push is heating up and tournament hoops are here, and there's no better way to cash in if you're right on the high-flying hoops action than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. Every bucket, every dime, and every win means more when you're playing on Prize Picks. And with their brand new Team Picks markets, you can now pick game winners, spreads, and totals on top of the player picks you already know. So cash in if you're right during all the clutch buckets, slam dunks, and Cinderella's this spring with Team Picks on Prize Picks. Now, I mean, that means now you can pick the winner straight up. Who's going to win the next basketball game? Who's going to win the fight? Back your takes with real money. How about that? That's something new for you. That's pretty nice. Team Picks are available in 35 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Washington, and more. It makes it super easy to pick game winners, spreads, and totals all on Prize Picks. What you're going to do, download the Prize Picks app, put in and pick your first game winner, spread, or total as the playoff push rolls on, and get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup when you use the code CLNS. Again, download the app Prize Picks, use the code CLNS, and get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right. Here we go. So we're going to do a live mock draft for you people. We're going to, I believe, stick with PFF again this week. Are we going to go on PFF again this week?
We are.
All right, let's do it. We haven't really traded the last few weeks, so we'll just kind of see how it goes. I don't know if we're gonna stick with the non-trading thing. We'll just kind of see how the board falls.
I think we start with the no trading for now. Maybe when we get closer, we can.
Yeah, I'm down with that. And we could even too. The other thing we could also do is, when we get to that second round pick, we could kind of see what the board looks like and see if maybe we want to move up that, from that third round pick, move up and use some of those sixth or use one of the fourths that we have or something like that. You know what I mean?
To move up. I like that. Yeah. They added, you can choose big boards to use.
Well,
I think we probably just stick with the regular one. They're just their 2026 big board, but those are the options right now. I don't know.
What are they? I can't read them all. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. We've got PFF big board, which is the default. The PFF analyst picks, which is Trevor Sikava's big board, top 100, and then other ones that are trending. Harriet's big board, 2026 big board 4.0, Brady's board, work in progress. These are just fan ones, clearly.
Yeah.
So I think we stick with the PFF one for now and just default settings, 7 rounds, Patriots.
We should make a big board and throw it up.
We should at some point. We should.
And then draft with our big board.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
That'd be wild.
Yeah. All right, let's get into this and we'll just start.
Yeah, just start it. We're not going to trade up in the first round.
Yeah. All right, see any interesting picks here in the first.
Oh, I see it.
Dylan Thieneman going in the top 8 in this one. To the Saints.
I like Jeremiah Love to the Browns. That's interesting. But I don't know why they would do that. That doesn't make any sense.
Emmanuel McNeil Warren at 18 to the Vikings. So that's all three of those safety types we talked about off the board well before the Patriots. Vega, the guard from Penn State. I think we took him last time.
He goes
the Lions,
which I think makes sense there. Didn't the Lions lose one of their guards?
I believe. Kenyon Sadiq to the Panthers. Blake Miller to the Bills at 26. Caden Proctor to the Niners at 27. So a couple tackles off the board. Casey Concepcion to the Chiefs at 29. Breaking my heart with that one.
Yep.
Cade McDonald to the Broncos, pick right before us. So those are some of the guys coming off the board. For the Patriots, the top 5 on the board according to PFF at 31. Max Ianashor, the tackle from Arizona State. Denzel Boston, the wide receiver from Washington. Caleb Banks, defensive lineman from Florida. Peter Woods, the defensive lineman from Clemson. And Colton Hood, the corner from Tennessee. We also have the guard, Emmanuel Pregnon from Oregon. Caleb Lomu, the tackle from Utah, still here. I think those are 2 of the bigger names.
Yeah, I think so too.
Board.
Jacob Rodriguez. Man,
What's your first thought here?
my first thought was Denzel Boston. I feel like that's the guy. This is a situation where the Patriots haven't made an AJ Brown trade just yet. I don't know what Boston's going to run in the 40, right? I don't know what that 40 time is going to be. I do know that he's a decently big guy who's got pretty good size and he's got very good hands. He also, so he had his pro day today, decided not to run the 40. He did have a 37.5-inch vert at 6'3", 210. Had a 4.29 short shuttle and a 6.85 3-cone drill.
That's a very good 3-cone.
That's a real good 3-cone.
A sub-7 3-cone on a 6'4", 209 guy?
That's what I mean, man. That's why I'm like, that's what I like. That's what I like. And so that's one of those things for me that, like, I don't know what the 40 time is, but, like, if you're telling me his change of direction is that good with a guy that big, that's impressive to me. What his long speed isn't really important to me. Not that it's not, but we have guys that can go deep. I like the idea of having a guy like that that's available and can get open. And so that was my thought. The other thought I had was I like Ian Nature. I love Pregnon. And I actually don't mind Caleb Banks and Woods. I'm curious, what a trade down looks like as well, right? Like, where are you going to?
So right now, there's only one team interested in the PFF mock. That's Houston, wanting to move up from 38. So that's 7 spots back. I think that would probably be within the acceptable range here.
So that's not terrible.
You could, let's see. You could give up 31 and 95 for 38 and 59. That is a 50-50 chance of being accepted.
Which isn't, and I'd even throw in one of those 6 maybe if you wanted to.
Just to lock it in.
Like the last one.
Would they ever do like? No, it doesn't do much for you. Yeah, or like.
I don't even know if that does anything, but.
We're, for those just listening, we're adding 7th round picks to see how much it increases the odds.
Yeah.
Now, I guess my question here is this: you make this trade back.
Yep.
Because the other guy I was going to say is INHR interests me here.
Yeah, me too.
You might have your right tackle of the future on the board here. You might have your wide receiver 1 of the future on the board here. Are you willing to pass up both of those right now?
So that's the question, right?
I don't think I would want to do that.
Yeah.
I would honestly, I think, lean INHR here. He has played right tackle all throughout college. He's not the best prospect in the world, but he's experienced. He's 6'6". He plays right tackle. He did well against David Bailey, I think, this year. We could pull the PFF grade for that right here, actually.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, okay, 64.9 grade in that game against Texas Tech. That's not bad.
Yeah.
I think fixing up right tackle to me does more. Like David Boston, for as much as there's stuff in his skill set that I love, I still get a little bit scared by that profile of receiver.
I know Denzel Boston, but yes,
someone
he's a little reminiscent of David Boston. You're right, but
I did say David Boston. Wow. Denzel Boston scares me a little, and that when you get a guy who's not a separator, that always just freaks me out a little bit.
I get it.
Because there's no floor on that. Someone can just be unplayably bad if that's their profile, and yeah, obviously that can happen at tackle too. But
I get you, and I like the idea of taking Pregnon, but if you're taking AVT and you feel like he can be your guy, you don't have to take a guard in the first round or in the second round for that matter.
I'd be between Boston and iNature here.
Let's take
Eileen. Here's the thing: Eileen iNature, but Yuli and Boston clearly in the chat is. I'm seeing a lot of Boston.
The chat is definitely Denzel Boston for sure.
We can take Boston and see how this draft plays out. I'm okay.
So
with
I think last time in the last mock, did we take I thought we took a tackle in the first round. Did we
a
not?
guard. We took Vega because he
We
fell.
took Vega. So we took an offensive lineman. Let's take Denzel Boston and just kind of see what happens here. And by the way, someone asked why we're not going edge. I don't know. Like, where's the next good edge player? Zion Young?
Lee Hunter is in the. He's not really an edge, but
that's too much.
Rusher.
That's too much of a and obviously you could take a guy like Caleb Banks or Peter Woods, but those are interior guys.
Yeah.
I think that to me you're going either tackle or you're going wide receiver here, and if you it's just a really question of what you like, and I think
that it's the way the board fell too. A lot of the guys that would have been interested in at edge at 31 have gone at this point.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll do Boston.
Let's do it.
See how we look in the second round here.
Yep.
So Denzel Boston, the pick at 31. We send ahead to 63. Let's see if there's any interesting picks here in the meantime. Chris Brassel to the Eagles. Just
because. Let's go back to 38 and see who was taken between 31 and 38. Just out of curiosity.
I Nature comes off the board at 37, so he would not have been there.
Yeah.
Hard to say if Boston would have gone here. Ty Simpson to the Jets at 33 is fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Yeah.
Zion Young went right there too at 35.
Yeah, to the Titans.
So.
Oh, Chris Bell to the Chiefs. Chiefs taking back-to-back receivers in this one.
Wow. Pregnon to the Bengals. I like that.
Yeah, that makes sense for them. Saints taking a tackle here. I don't really get that, but their offensive line's pretty good already.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of these picks, I don't know, but
yeah,
whatever. Malachi Lawrence going to the Packers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I think I've already seen the guy I'm going to want to take here, but the top 5 on the board at 63. Treydon Stukes, the corner from Arizona. Joshua Josephs, the edge from Tennessee. Caleb Tiernan, the tackle from Northwestern. Derek Moore, the edge defender from Michigan. And Josiah Trotter, a linebacker from Missouri. Pat, who are you thinking here?
I think I'm thinking the guy you're thinking too.
Well, who are you thinking? Because I don't know.
Derek Moore is the guy I'm thinking.
Okay. Yeah, we are on the same page. Derek Moore to me is someone who is clearly a fit in this scheme. He's an edge rusher. He's a very successful edge rusher last season. 6'3", 260, slightly older, 23 years old already, but he's a Mike Vrabel style of edge.
Yeah. He fits exactly what they want to do.
Yeah. I will note Davison Igbinosun, the corner from Ohio State, and Antonio Williams, the wide receiver from Clemson, are 6th and 7th best players on the board. I think we hadn't taken Boston. Antonio Williams would be someone we'd be talking about here.
I agree. I like him a lot. I took him actually. I traded up in the 3rd round in my last mock to take Antonio Williams. So and Hobo's asking about linebacker. I am curious about Jacob Rodriguez.
He went to the Jets.
He went to the Jets. Okay, I thought he got taken. I thought I had seen him on there.
Yeah, that's an interesting 2nd round for the Jets there, where they get Ty Simpson and Jacob Rodriguez.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Can we just out of curiosity here, can we look at linebacker?
Yeah.
And offensive tackle.
So we'll start linebacker. Josiah Trotter, who's the son of Jeremiah Trotter, correct?
Yeah, he is.
And
he's
Lewis.
Good.
Yeah. Kyle Lewis and Anthony Hill also here, more likely to go in the 3rd round, later in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Those are your top guys. Let's look at tackle. Caleb Tiernan, we didn't talk about here at all. I don't know much about him from Northwestern, and he's the only top 100 guy on the board here. Let's see, 6'7", older. He's a grad student, 23 years old. Played almost exclusively left tackle the last 3 seasons. Looks like really good pass blocker, not much of a run blocker. That's the profile on him.
Feels that way. Yeah. You know what? I don't know much about him. Markel Bell, obviously we've talked about on here before, is a huge guy, 6'9" or whatever. I was just thinking, do we want to do that? Maybe trade up in the 3rd round, but I don't think there's any real need to do that. I would love the idea of getting Josiah Trotter as well as Derek Moore. There's just no way it's going to happen because Josiah Trotter's right here. There's no way. We have to choose between the two of them. So which is fine.
The Patriots' next pick is 95. I'm just going to, out of curiosity, if we went to like pick 80 with the Ravens, move up 15 picks. What Okay, so you'd have to give up 125 to make that happen. I don't think that's worth that.
No, I don't think so either. No.
All right. So we'll just stay here and take Derek Moore.
Yeah.
All right. Derek Moore, Michigan edge rusher, the pick at 63.
Love it.
Now we're at 95. Oh, Malachi Fields goes at 94 to the Broncos.
Oh, I love it. I love him so much.
Yeah.
Dude, Malachi Fields with Cortland Sutton. Woo! Goodness.
Jump balls all the way. Anthony Hill, some fans of him, he goes to 89. Linebacker from Texas, he goes to the Bears. Mello Height at 86 to the Chargers. That's a fit. Drew Aller to the Steelers is hilarious.
That's wild.
That's insane. So funny. Sam Roush to the Panthers. Kai Lewis to the Bucks. Max Clare to the Chiefs. Oh, that's such a good fit.
That's a very good fit. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Igbenogson going off the board to the Seahawks immediately on the next pick, I think is very interesting too.
Yeah.
At the end of the second round there. Top 5 on the board at 95. Jake Slaughter, center from Florida. The Nuss Bus, Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback from LSU. Logan Jones, center from Iowa. Ted Hurst, wide receiver from Georgia State. And Genesis Smith, the safety from Arizona. Genesis Smith is a fantastic name.
It's a great name. If we hadn't gone wide receiver in the first round, Ted Hurst would be a guy I'd be all over here. He would be like, you'd have to really try to talk me out of that pick. I like him a lot. Big dude, can run very well. Is a pretty solid contested catch guy in his own right. So I like him quite a bit. Markel Bell, I don't know if we took him here. I took him in my last mock. Just again, an absolute monster of a man.
6'9", 345.
Yeah, he's huge. And he's like a decent athlete for his size as well. He's obviously not a great athlete because he's 6'9", 350, but he's a good athlete for his size. I just love like the idea of taking a guy that big and just seeing if you can turn him into something.
I don't hate that. The other name that interests me here is Zakee Wheatley, the safety from Penn State.
Yeah.
I think he's got some fans, and he's just kind of a do-it-all safety. He plays all over. He's 24 years old. He's more experienced. He's someone who, he's not making a Warren, but you think he could come in year 1 and immediately be your third safety, and you'd hope that, year 2, he's your starting safety once Byers' contract is up.
Right. And that's the other part of it is that, people look at it like, oh, 24 years old, he's already old. And it's like, well, yeah, but, if you're drafting this guy 3 years from now, he's 27. Like, that's not that old where it's like he's unable to,
The concerns for me with the age stuff when drafting someone, it's basically twofold. One is that if they're good, when you re-sign them, you start to get concerned about that second contract. Like if he's 24 and you have him for 4 years, do you want to re-sign him for his age 29, 30, 31 seasons when he's hitting the market for the first time? And if he's a good player, he's going to get a big salary. Maybe not, because you start to get a lot more injury risk and regression risk at that age. And then the other side of it is that from like a neural side, you are just less able to learn new things once you kind of pass a certain threshold there. And it could just be harder to coach guys up, harder to teach guys. That's one of the things you see. And then the last thing is, the younger you are when you come out, it means that you are better than people who are your age or older already, which is just a good sign. Like
so
if it took you to be 24 years old to be good enough to get drafted, to be like, all right, are you good or are you just older than everyone else?
Right. That's kind of the idea. That's kind of the way I look at it, and again, it doesn't mean that guys won't be, right? Because there are plenty of examples of guys that are older that come out and are very good, but it took you that long to become this draftable guy. And so anyways, I like Jake Slaughter a lot as well. Goalie was saying it, said it in the chat, but like, they just don't need it. They don't need a center right now. Like it's not what they need. So
I think I lean Markel Bell here just for the upside.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
As a developmental tackle.
Yeah, I'm down with that because you need a tackle, and so we get one here.
Yeah, all right. Markel Bell, the pick at 95. So we get into the fourth round here. So you get wide receiver, edge, tackle with your first 3 picks. I think those are your big 3 needs at this point.
Yeah,
So
I think so too.
Denzel Boston, Derek Moore, Markel Bell, your first 3. Now I think you can kind of play the board and draft whatever positions you feel like.
Yep.
We look here at pick 125. Will Lee from Texas A&M, the corner. Tyreek Sapp, the edge defender from Florida. Seth McGowan, the halfback from Kentucky. Jalen Kilgore, the corner from South Carolina. And Justin Jolly. We've taken him before.
Yep.
Tight end, North Carolina State. I'll just scroll down so we can see if there's anyone else that interests here. But what are you thinking?
So this is a tough one because, I would like to get a tight end. I think Jolly makes some sense. I also think a few people in the chat have mentioned Kilgore. I think Kilgore would be a lot of fun too. He's a good player. Obviously, some of those grades aren't great, but he's a good player. I think he's
plays a lot in the
big,
slot. He's a good run defender. So
yeah,
young too, 21 years old.
Yeah, so I don't hate that. I also wonder too if there's 2 guys that we like here, which I don't know if there is, but again, if there's 2 guys we like here, maybe we package, throw some of those 6th-round picks in and move up a little bit to take another guy.
Because the Patriots pick at 125 and then again at 131. I also don't hate just seeing if someone we like is still there at 131.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think my thought here is to grab one of the corners, probably Kilgore, here at 125, and then take a tight end at 131.
I think that makes sense. I like that. Let's take Kilgore here at 125, and then see what's there at 131.
All right, Kilgore coming off the board, and no tight ends get picked. So the Patriots we can pick who we like. Justin Jolly and Jack Endries are the top 2 guys on the board overall. They're both tight ends. Endries from Texas, 6'4", 236. He's a junior. Let's see. PFF says they gave him, middle of the road grades this year for receiving and for run blocking.
How about that? Jack Endries.
I'm also going to throw out Marlon Klein out of Michigan here. He does not grade out well per PFF, but as a Michigan fan who watched Michigan, I don't think these grades are fully reflective, especially with the coaching situation in Michigan this season, which was bizarre, to put it lightly. Yeah. Really, and we also have Dallin Bentley from Utah. I'm not that familiar with the senior, 6'4", 259. Looks like he had a breakout year as a receiver this season. 600 and here we go. He had 15 receiving yards in 2024, then 620 in 2025. So breakout receiver there.
How about that?
What are you feeling here?
Man, I'm not sure. I'm trying to get a little bit more information on Jack Endries, to be honest with you. I'm just curious about what he ran, because he was at the combine. He is 21. Now he'll be 22 at the end of the month, but he's still decently young.
Yeah. He
went to the combine. Let's see. Redshirt junior, 6'5", 245. 4.6 40-yard dash, 36-inch vertical jump, 9.11 broad jump.
How do those jump numbers match up for like a percentile? Do you know?
I do not know. They have him as athleticism-wise the 9th ranked corner, but I'm on like the NFL site.
Okay.
So they just kind of give me the numbers and don't really tell me anything. Hold on. Let's see what the RAS looks like here. The RAS gives him an 8.65. The vertical puts him at gives him like the 9.02. Broad 7.9.
Yeah, I'm down with Endries. He's also someone who, if you look at his production numbers, it dropped off this year, which I think is probably a result of, new quarterback, different offense, the learning curve that came with Arch Manning this season.
Right.
You're kind of buying low on him in production in some ways, and I'm a fan of that here.
Yep, I like that. Let's do it.
All right, Jack Endries, 131.
That's the guy we've never taken either, so that's cool.
Yeah. down to 169. Now we can really go in any direction. I'm not going to bother naming all the names here. Cade Klubnik is the best player on the board at this point. Any
I feel
names
like that's
jumping
not
out to
going to
you?
happen. I like Thad Dixon from UNC, although I can't imagine they're going to take a UNC player.
No.
Um,
Jeff Caldwell, Cincinnati. We just talked about him.
Yeah. Drew Shelton from Penn State.
Not taking him.
Aaron Anderson from LSU, like a true slot receiver.
Mm-hmm.
That was Nolan Rucci.
I got a lot.
Yeah, I don't. Man,
DeMont Claiborne. Have we taken him before?
We definitely have not. No.
This could be a good spot for a running back. He seems like a kind of do it all back here with experience.
I don't hate that. Someone in the chat saying John Michael Gillenberg. Don't.
I saw that name. We were scrolling before.
Yeah, we were there somewhere. There he is.
Out of Wyoming.
So yeah, I mean, listen, you could double dip at tight end. Goalie saying you got a 9.8 RAS.
I'm not opposed to double dipping at tight end, but the Patriots do have picks at 190 and 197, and I think you could probably wait and hope that Gillenberg is still there.
Yep, that'd be fine too.
Got an edge rusher from Boston College, Quintavious Hutchins.
Yeah.
6'3", 240. Wouldn't be mad about that either.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too.
Owen Heineke, Oklahoma linebacker, 6'1", 227. This is that undersized linebacker type that they might be looking for right now.
That's
also grades out well as a pass rusher. If they're going to bring blitzes and stuff, something that seems relevant.
Yeah, we haven't taken a linebacker yet. By the way, as far as Gillenberg is concerned, the RAS on him, 6'5", almost 6'6", 249, 35.5-inch vert, 10.9 broad jump, 4.6 40, and a 4.22 short shuttle. It's pretty solid. It's decently explosive. Yeah. But I'm down with linebacker here too.
Yeah, I lean Heineke here.
No, let's do it.
All right. Heineke from Oklahoma, the pick at 169. All right, 190. Let's see where we're at. Klubnik still on the board. Kitzelman at tight end and Gillenberg at tight end, both on the board here. Kitzelman from Tennessee.
Yeah, from Tennessee.
Yeah, 6'5", 255. Better last season than he was this past season per PFF's grading. Tanner Koziol from Houston, who 6'7", 250.
He's a monster.
And he had over 700 receiving yards last year and over 800 the year before. Not a blocker at all. No. But I'm not opposed to that either.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, that's one of those ones too where I feel like if you can get a guy like that who's, just a big target. Yeah. Now the problem is 4.7 40-yard dash, 36.5-inch vert, and a 10'2" broad jump. Like, that's good, but it's by no means like incredible either. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We have not taken a guard yet.
We have not, and I like this kid too.
Armand Reed Adams from Texas A&M is on the board. There's some similarity to Layden Robinson, I think, here. When you just look at the profile, 325-pound guard out of Texas A&M. Not great as a pass blocker right now, but he can run block.
Yeah.
I think I really like that profile at this point.
Yeah, I like this kid. I think he's a decent kind of shot in the dark type of player. I like Pat Coogan a lot too, but again, you just don't need a center. So like maybe he has some position flexibility and he could play guard for you as well. But I like, Reed Adams here as a guard from A&M.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's do it. It's at 190. We'll take Reed Adams, and we got 197. After 197, the Pats still have 201, 211, 247. So a lot of picks here in a row.
There's VJ Payne.
Mm-hmm. There was a wide receiver from John Carroll on here.
Oh, baby.
That's where McDaniels went.
Yes, it is.
That's that famous school. Tyron. It's another Ty Montgomery.
Oh my lord, Tyron Montgomery. Let's see, Tyron.
6'1", 190. He had 1,530 receiving yards last year on
Yeah,
119 receptions.
that checks out. 5'11", 190. Doesn't. Was a basketball player. Interesting.
You know what? That would be a very fun pick. Also, Oscar Delp is still on the board.
It's insane that Oscar Delp is this far down the list. I just don't.
I pretend he's not still there because there's no way that happens.
I just don't understand why Oscar Delp would ever be on the list. Goalie's asking about Jordan Hudson. That'd be pretty hilarious.
SMU wide receiver. Yeah. Is he still here? Well, I'll check.
Below Ty Montgomery? I don't think so.
Not.
I don't see SMU. Well, I do. I just saw an SMU, but I don't think it was Jordan Hudson. Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do John Carroll. Why not? That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Doesn't even have they don't even have a logo for John Carroll.
Yeah, no picture, no logo.
I love it.
That's Patriots draft pick if I've ever seen one.
Oh yeah. Gillenborg's still on the board.
Do we want to do that?
I don't know. I don't think we need a second tight end, to be very honest with you. I think I'd like to go defensive line here. We haven't taken a defensive lineman yet. We did take an edge rusher. We haven't taken a defensive lineman yet, like a D tackle. Harold Perkins still on the board if you wanted to take kind of an edge rusher linebacker type guy.
Zane Durant's the top defensive lineman on the board, 6'1", 287 out of Penn State. So and more of a pass rusher. So I don't know if that's the mold we're looking for. Cole Brevard from Texas, 6'3", 346. This is a big boy.
It's a big boy.
If you want to get some heft in there.
Yeah, it's a big boy. Played really well against Ohio State, looks like, in the first game of the season.
If you want to get beefy on the line, this is probably the guy you want.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Unless you want to go somewhere else. I just think they need help on the defensive line. And so I like taking a guy like that late.
Yeah. All right, 211. We still have two more picks.
How is Oscar Delp still on the board? What is going on?
We'll just ignore that. There's no way that actually happens.
It's outrageous.
Yeah. We got people asking about running back. Desmond Reed here from Pitt, 5'8", 175.
He's not 5'8", though. He's not. So I think they had him listed at 5'8". I'm pretty sure a little
inflation.
That because when I looked at when I was looking at his stuff, it had him as maybe it is 5'8", but I thought he was 5'6". Yeah, no, he at the combine he was 5'6", 174. So he's listed at 5'8", but he's actually 5'6". It's a big difference, man.
I love that.
28-inch arms. He's talking about Will Campbell having small arms.
Oh my God. We got Robert Henry Jr. at the UTSA at running back, 5'9", 205. So another small guy here.
He's an interesting guy that we almost took before as well out of UTSA. Now he's gonna be 25 in December. Like he's an older guy. Yeah. But he's an interesting cat too. So he's a guy that, if you're down with something like that, I'm okay with that. If you want to take him.
Roman Hemby, who I think we've taken before, if we're looking at running backs. Terrion Stewart out of Virginia Tech. Also old, also short, 5'9", 222. So he's got some meat on him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Power bang.
I don't know. I don't know. Do we need a running back? I don't really love any of those guys.
Loving the guys. Another safety here from SMU, Isaiah Nokobia.
Yeah, 6'1". Yeah.
And I see good run defense grade. I wonder if this is someone who could be a special teamer. Although they also have Mike Brown, so I don't even know how many roster spots there are.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point too.
Yeah. If we take in an outside corner, we have Kilgore. Oh, Kilgore's a slot.
Yeah, but he could play a little bit. He can, I don't know if you're taking another. You could take another guy if you wanted to.
Especially at this point, if you want some depth.
Yeah.
Jadon Kennedy, Oregon.
Yep, you could do that. You just drafted what's his name too? Kobe Minor.
Yeah.
Andre Fuller from Toledo, another Toledo guy. Maybe you ran across him when you're scouting ENW, and all of a sudden, you're like, "Oh, I like this guy."
Very well graded across the board. I don't hate this. The fact that they're bringing in EMW on a visit means they can ask about his teammates. So I don't think it's unrealistic that they would bring in one of his teammates.
Yeah, let's do it. Andre
Fuller, outside corner, 211.
Again, another guy we haven't taken before. I like kind of branching out and taking guys that we haven't taken before.
Yeah. All right, we get to have one more pick in here for fun. I wouldn't hate a quarterback here if we wanted to go that route, just to fill out depth on the roster. I don't know if we've done that.
618 says punter as well. Tommy Castellanos, get out of here. But if we wanted to go, yes, there's Stonehouse. I think Stonehouse is the best punter, but there's the kid from Michigan State's very good too.
Just draft another Michigan State punter.
I mean, it's not a terrible idea. If you wanted to go quarterback, there's that kid who's insanely fast from where the heck is it? Oh, from Arkansas. It is Arkansas. Taylor Green. Yeah.
I think we took him before. Or at least we talked about it.
Yeah, I think we have. Or maybe we haven't, but we've talked about it, like you say. Yeah.
Luke Altmaier is a experienced senior who.
Yeah. I
kind of feel like this would be the mold of the kind of guy they'd want as a backup quarterback.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I also think they did just sign Tommy DeVito to an extension.
They did, so maybe they wouldn't look for a backup at this point.
Yeah. So maybe
could grab another guard.
We could grab another guard. Can never have too many offensive linemen. Sheesh. Yeah.
And Michael Morris is a big guy who decent run blocker, graded well as a pass blocker as well.
Yeah.
Georgia experience. I don't hate that, just to fill out depth and
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Let's do it.
All right, that'll wrap it up here. Pick 247.
Building through the trenches. I love it.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna give us a terrible grade, but that's okay.
Yeah, let's see what they give us. A B. Bottom 25% of Patriots draft. All right, let me zoom out here. Here's the Patriots class that we just put together. Pick 31, Denzel Boston, the wide receiver from Washington. Pick 63, Derek Moore, the edge defender from Michigan. Pick 95, Markel Bell, the tackle from Miami. We get outside the top 100, 125, corner Jalen Kilgore. 131, tight end Jack Endries. 169, linebacker Owen Heineke. 190, guard Armaj Reed Adams. 197, wide receiver Ty Montgomery from John Carroll. Defensive lineman Cole Brevard at 201. 211, corner Andre Fuller from Toledo. And 247, guard Micah Morris from Georgia.
I like it. So I like that. I mean, you get yourself 2 wide receivers. You get yourself, 2 guards and a tackle. You get a corner in there, an edge rusher, and 2 tight ends, and a tight end, with a linebacker and a defensive lineman in there too. I think you kind of hit all the spots you want to hit. Again, it's one of those things where when we do these mock drafts, we're not in the actual war room, right? We don't know what's going on around everyone else. We don't know, where the board's going to fall and everything else. But I like the process of going through this and saying, okay, would we have taken Denzel Austin? Like in real life, right? If we're on the board and we're taking Denzel Washington and Ian Nature, I kind of probably would have leaned Ian Nature there, right?
Yeah.
But we haven't done that, right? We've taken an offensive lineman and we haven't taken a wide receiver in the first round. So we figured, all right, let's take offensive lineman take a wide receiver in the first round instead, and let's see what happens, right?
And I like how this plays out. It's just you need Denzel Boston to be a quality receiver, I think, for this draft.
Well, and what it comes down to is that, and what it really always comes down to is that you have to, and this is kind of like the fantasy football, right? The fantasy football rule is you have to hit on your first 3 picks. You have to.
Yeah.
After that, if you hit on some mid-round guys, now you go from a good team to a really good team.
Yeah.
But you have to hit on your first 3 picks. And that's the same thing here in the NFL draft. You got to hit on your first 3 picks because that's how your draft is going to be a successful draft. If you hit on some of those mid to late round guys, that all of a sudden that decent draft turns into a fantastic draft. But if you're going to do anything, you have to hit on those first 3 guys. And so, I like Boston. I don't know. We'll see. I love the Derek Moore pick at 63. And I really like the Markel Bell pick at 95. I just think the upside for him is so big with a guy that large that moves as well as he moves. I just think that, gives you a little bit of an advantage, with a guy. So we'll see, but I think when you see a guy like that, that's that large, he goes to the combine, right? And he's 6'9", 346, right? 36 3/8 inch arms. Now his hands are only 9 inches, which is interesting. He's got decently small hands for the size that he is. But he ran a 5'3", 640.
Yeah.
At that size, that's pretty impressive, So, so we'll see. We'll see. And listen, people are going to hate on Boston, and a lot of people are going to compare Boston to Polk because he went to Washington. I don't see it. I don't see the comparisons between those two.
I think if you're going to be scared of Boston, the comparison is going to be Harry.
Right. I think really that's kind of where it is.
Goalie asks a question: would you rather Boston or AJ Brown with pick 31? I'm going to say Boston here because you get him for relatively cheap and for 4 years in what should be his athletic prime.
Right.
AJ Brown's going to be expensive, and you don't know how many healthy years in there. So obviously there's risk with a receiver at this point. There's a chance he's just not good.
Yeah.
But the fact that you could get a receiver who's good and still have the money to go sign additional free agents to supplement what he brings to the table is pretty appealing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I do think if the Eagles call you and say, hey, send us pick 31 and only pick 31 for AJ Brown, I think you strongly consider that.
I don't think we're getting there's been all kinds of reports. The whole thing has been weird with that.
It's a really bizarre situation.
The Eagles seem almost desperate to get rid of him, which tells me there's no reason you should give up a first, because if they're that desperate, the price will come down. And also, if they're that desperate, be cautious. That's a good organization. When good organizations trade away players that you think are good, tread lightly. I don't know how many players did the Patriots trade away where the other team thought, all right, well, we're getting a guy who's good, and then it just never panned out the way thought it was going to go because the Patriots had the better scout on them.
Well, a great example of that is Tyreek Hill. Right, Tyreek Hill gets traded to Miami, and he was very good for a year or two in Miami, but not a leader, not a guy that you really want in the locker room per se.
Yeah.
Right. Had some off-field issues happen. And then, of course, he gets hurt this year. I mean, which obviously you can't predict, but gets hurt this year. And it's just yeah.
But, and AJ Brown's older now than Hill was when that trade happened. Yeah. And the comparison I'll always make, AJ Brown was a lot more productive last season than Randy Moss was the year before he was traded, but similar points in their career, similar concerns about, I think, some attitude there. And similar concerns about if they had slowed down, and Randy Moss goes for a fourth, and I don't think AJ Brown goes for that little, but there's real risk there, especially when you're taking on all of that salary and the injury risk.
100%. I also think it depends on how this draft falls. Yeah. If the Patriots get to 31 and they don't love anyone on the board there, and Miami is saying, hey, Philadelphia is saying, hey, send us 31 for AJ Brown, I think then you're more likely to consider it. If it's me personally, and we kind of talked about this before, I almost feel like just wait until after June 1st. Just wait till the draft. Just do the draft. And then once you have all the picks, once you've gotten all those guys in the door, then you can reassess. And say, do we really want this guy or not? And if not, then you move on, and you say, all right, sorry, we're all set,
Yeah, fully agree.
So yeah.
All right. I think that's it.
That's it. That's all we got. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We appreciate it. We're going to be back Thursday night talking more Patriot stuff as Matt's cat walks into frame. Hanging out.
Yeah. She's not usually a guest on the show. My fiance has been out of town for a few weeks, and Willow has decided to become an every show fixture now.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, but yes, we'll be with you Thursday night, talking more Patriots. Of course, we'll see what happens this week as well, leading up to that. But thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll tweet this. Tweet this mock draft out so you can see it. I'll read my mock draft on Pats Pulpit if you haven't read it as well. And then we will talk to you on Thursday night. Be good to each other and go Pats.